It's February 15th, 2021. This is Roqe. He is one of the most dynamic and inventive multidisciplinary artists in the diaspora today. He's the guy behind several famous music videos from Namjoo to Kiosk to Shahin Najafi, and his filmmaking and photography put him in a class all his own. But many folks around the world would know Mostafa Heravi from his popular Instagram account these days, where he posts riveting visual commentaries from politics to pop culture. A feature interview with the talented and charming Mostafa Heravi joining me from Amsterdam coming up. Plus, we've got your letters of the week and no shortage of opinions. This is Conversations from, to, and about the Iranian diaspora. I'm Jian Ghomeshi. This is Roqe. Hi there, welcome to episode number 85 of Roqe, coming to you from Toronto, thinking of you across the universe, hoping you are keeping well wherever you are tuning in from around the world. Salam dostan aziz, durud bar shoma, khosh omadin. Hello Groovy Shaya.
Hi.
Hello the fabulous Keon.
Hello Jian.
Happy Family Day to those of you in some parts of Canada. Happy President's Day to those of you in America. Keon, happy President's Day to you.
Yes, thank you.
As an American, do you gather pictures of your favorite presidents and say prayers?
We pay homage to the presidents.
I see.
Really?
Past and present. No, I'm kidding.
No, I mean, is it an official day, Presidency
Yes,
Day?
I didn't just make that up. It's President's Day.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Wow, interesting.
Shai's excited about it.
Yes, shockingly, for some strange reason.
You kneel and you look at some picture. I don't know what do you do on President's
Day. We
Day.
don't do anything. Just acknowledge it.
We're on a
happy.
Yes, happy to everybody. Hopefully, we're on an ongoing mission to build a new audiovisual encyclopedia of Iranian diaspora identity. We are coming to you on SoundCloud, on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Castbox, Telegram. As of last week, we have launched our Patron Circle page. This is really exciting for us. Roqemedia.com. You go to the Support Us button. If you like our content, we are asking you to support Roqe and keep our content as ad-free as possible. We have a whole bunch of patrons.
We
already.
do.
Did you know that?
I do. I've been following.
Including some rock stars. So for $50 a month, you get rock star status with us. For $100, you become a hero. $250, you become a Roqe legend. Today, I want to give a shout out to a new rock star, a guy named Adel Sataripur. How do you know? Maybe it's the way I said it.
Yeah, maybe Sataripur. Yeah, but I think Sataripur.
Adel Sataripur, who is in the UAE.
Wow.
Coming to us from the UAE with his rock star patron status now. Isn't that nice?
That's really cool.
Adel Sataripur.
Did I say Adele?
Yes.
By the way, Adele, a real rock star. She's taking some time off her touring to sponsor Roqe. Yeah, sorry about that. Of course, it's Adel Sataripur.
Exactly.
He's stepping up from the UAE to support Roqe. The
and
least I can do is
get
his name right. He's also got 2 minutes of airtime already here. Adel Sataripur.
Exactly.
Yes. We are grateful to you, by the way, for signing up as our patron, which you can do for as little as $5 a month or $10 a month. You get some exclusive Roqe access and merchandise. Keon?
Yes,
yeah, okay.
Yes, we are. We do.
And the chance to support a community-based program. We really use your help, and we don't want to turn this into one big commercial. So we appreciate the patrons coming our way. Roqemedia.com. Thank you again, Adel Sataripur.
Wow.
ببین
وای
چطوری لهجه خیلی خوبی داره.
چه کارایی میکنی
چه کار
وای لهجت قربون لهجت برم.
Hey, happy belated Valentine's Day to you, Shaya Jun.
Thank you.
What
I'm
about
sorry
me?
I didn't. Well, let me start with Shaya.
Okay.
He's my true love. He's the best. He's the best ever. Did you have a nice weekend?
Yes, I did. Also, Chick Corea.
Let me get to Chick Corea. I want to talk about Chick Corea because you're right. Well, actually, we can talk about him right now.
Okay.
You know, Chick Corea, the legendary jazz pianist, died at the end of last week. We didn't get a chance to talk about him on the show, but both you and I were fans. You're a piano player, so you know the magic that this musician would make. You want to say something about the great Iranian piano player, Chick Corea?
Chick خودمون.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to recommend to people to watch his last footage, you know, when he playing piano, and he's improvising, and the way he ends his improvisation, it's really amazing. It's like a baby who's playing with water in the ocean, and it's really amazing.
Did you see my social media post about him?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Because he did that. I was talking about how about 10 years ago I'd interviewed him, and I was in a studio. The studio we used to have had a big grand piano in it. And he's Chick Corea, and I felt a bit, I wasn't sure if I should ask him, you want to play for us? I mean, he's a legend, But I said, would you feel like playing the piano? This is live radio across Canada, and it was being beamed around the world. And so he goes, okay, sure. And he starts playing. First he started, it had the open, what do you call it when the piano cover is open?
The door of
the door of the piano. I don't think it's called the door. Keon, what's it called?
I have no idea. You guys are the music guys.
Okay, you remember pianos? Piano. Anyway, he put his hands inside the piano. And he started there, making some sounds, plucking away, and then he slowly moves behind the stool, and he starts playing the piano, and it was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. And then it starts to get dark, and then it's really soft, and then it's heavy, and then and it's just this epic piece that goes on and on. I mean, it's live, and he just keeps playing, and it ends up being around 20 minutes long. When he's finished, he comes and sits down, and I imagine, because I'm a jazz fan, but I'm not an aficionado. I don't know all of his back catalog or whatever. So I figured this is some famous Chick Corea piece that he's playing, because it was just so brilliant. I mean, it was beautiful. It involved all these melodies and intricate sort of turns, and And so I say to him, what was that? That was gorgeous. Like, what was that piece you played? And he starts chuckling. And I'm like, what? And he says, I was just making stuff up, man. He was just improvising the whole time. I saw in some of the obituaries of Chick Corea that he was called the greatest improvisationalist of all time. And I had the chance to see that. I mean, it was just remarkable stuff, this guy.
You are so fortunate
to have been in that room.
Yes.
Yeah. What do we, by the way, Savi Roham is nearby. I should mention that Captain Reza, speaking of Valentine's Day, is away on a romantic retreat.
I've heard.
Yeah. So Savi Roham is sitting there at the board. Savi Roham, hi. Hi. Yeah. Okay. Hello. Why do
there?
You know when you're talking to your relatives, especially if they're in Iran,
I want to pull my hair out.
They still think they have to yell, because the line is really clear now. Like you're on WhatsApp or something. Like, hello. Hello. So Savi Roham, what do we say in Farsi? How do you say Chick Corea? Chick Corea.
Yeah, exactly. Chick Corea.
Chick Corea. Because I don't know if he's generations before us, but there was a dancer and an American movie star, a big star named Gene Kelly. Do you guys know Gene Kelly?
Oh, I love Gene Kelly.
Right, American in Paris, Singing in the Rain, right? Singing in the Rain. And my parents, I guess my dad, like growing up in Iran, or this is like way back to the 1950s, right? 1950s and early 60s, they would see Gene Kelly movies, and they loved Gene Kelly. But they would say it really fast, like Jingali, and then his name became Jingali. So when I was growing up, I thought like, Ajab, un filmaya Jingali, and I was like, who's Jingali? So I thought maybe Chick Corea had a similar moniker, of some kind.
I suppose not.
How was your Valentine's Day, Keon?
It was swell. I mean, I that's it. I'll just leave it there.
Okay. Swell is good.
What's funny? I used to. I grew up with brothers, so I used to think that I didn't care for that stuff. Oh, like Valentine's Day, it's a made-up holiday. But when you get into a relationship, that all changes. It's like, oh, where's my Valentine's Day?
And so what happened?
So I
he didn't deliver? The doctor didn't?
I know. I started a fight the day before Valentine's Day. I'm like, oh, you probably didn't do anything. Oh, you're the worst. And this poor guy.
You were preemptively angry at him.
I was preemptively angry,
nice
assuming that he wasn't going to do anything.
You really are a high-maintenance girlfriend.
I think it's a Persian girls, man. I thought I was different, but it turns out I'm just like all the rest
I'm not your average Persian girl.
Very loose, very daddy's girls.
So what exactly did you say to him?
He did nothing wrong. He did everything right. You know, flowers, jewelry, the works.
Flowers
dinner,
and jewelry.
And cooked dinner, sweet guy.
And he cooked dinner.
I started.
What did you do?
I did nothing.
But you were mad at him.
I was mad at him the day before.
Guys, it's like this guy's a saint.
He is a saint. I'm telling you, he's putting up with a monster.
So you're not a monster.
It starts fighting.
He hit the jackpot. He's got you.
That's sweet.
But maybe you could go a little easier on him. So exactly what happens? You say that. So Valentine's Day was yesterday. It was Sunday.
Yeah.
So Saturday. You say.
I think it was the tone. Like he was just being very nonchalant about it. It was like, oh, you probably didn't do anything for Valentine's Day.
You said
so
that.
I created this whole narrative in my head, like I'm on the verge of tears, and then the day comes.
Like
and
you literally started a fight.
Like
with him.
I was upset. I was upset
so
for no reason.
Why would you do that?
I don't know. I'm insane. Girls, Persian girls in general.
I don't know if you should throw all the Persian girls under the bus.
I know I'm generalizing.
I think maybe this is a little extreme.
Yeah.
So you, in anticipation that he may not do enough, you decide to get mad at him.
Yes.
How does he deal with that? Because
a therapist. I think.
No. I mean, did he fight back, or does he go?
No, he's a sweet guy.
He's,
he's very patient, and I don't know why he deals with me.
Jeez. I'd be giving back the jewelry. I'd be like, hang on a second. I gotta make a.
Just throw flowers.
I gotta take a trip. I'll be back in a minute.
Happy Valentine's.
Can I give this back? No, sir. You bought that. Well, that's very lovely.
I know. How was your Valentine's Day?
It was great. I can't complain. I had a really lovely weekend. And also I did a bunch of reading. I made pesto from scratch. Some good pesto. Arsenal won a big game. Yeah. And I was listening to a lot of Chick Corea a lot on the weekend. I was saying, Savi Roham, did you have a nice weekend?
Yeah.
You're married, right?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Do you feel obliged to do something for Valentine's Day?
We never do anything like, we don't buy stuff, but we had...
Lucky you're not married to Keon.
But we had
that goes for every person in the world.
Right. We don't buy stuff. It just be like it doesn't sound like that'll go over with her.
Yeah, we don't do that. But we had a nice dinner and the candles all over the house. And
That's lovely.
Listen, you guys, I know Savi Roham, you're an artist yourself. This Mostafa Heravi, I can't wait to talk to him. He is, I've been following him on Instagram. He is such an interesting artist. I guess, Chaya or Roham, how would you know him first? Would you know him from his music videos, maybe? Or
actually, yes, I know him from one of the videos that he made for Namjoo, and I really loved it. And after that, I marked him as an very talented creative artist.
Right. And Savi Roham, you probably know him from his work as well,
from
right?
the music video he made for Shahin Najafi.
Yeah. He's and Keon, you probably don't know him as well, but he is this guy. I don't know what entirely to expect, but we're going to go live to Amsterdam in just a few minutes, and he is just such an interesting artist. He is fearless in the sense that some of his work is quite political, but it's of all kinds of different stripes of political, and he's very inventive. He is truly multidisciplinary. So I've seen him he was kind of doing an interview series at one point too. He's interviewing people in the car.
Yeah.
And then he's done these paintings, but he's a photographer, he's a video maker, he's working on a film right now about censorship in Iran. So, I guess we should get to him. I'm looking forward to this. I know we have a bunch of letters, right?
Yes. As expected, just a mixed bag.
And there's people fighting over the definition of Agazadeh.
Well, not fighting, but yes, there's
giving us different suggestions.
giving us different suggestions.
All right,
yeah.
We'll get to that. We'll get to all of this. Savi Roham. Groovy Shy, the fabulous Keon. Stick around. Let's get to our featured guest. My featured guest today is a renowned photographer, visual artist, and video maker who is known for his social, critical, and satirical approach. You may have seen his work online or on Instagram, where he takes difficult or political subject matter and uses images to juxtapose ideas and make commentary. A few days ago, say, he posted images of fashion models juxtaposed onto armed Taliban fighters, or say Rouhani, Putin, and Erdogan holding hands amidst rubble and destruction in Syria. Mostafa Heravi was born in Mashhad, Iran. He pursued painting and calligraphy in the presence of a number of master artists from his early childhood. Mostafa left Iran for good in the year 2000 and moved to Netherlands. He graduated from the Gerrit Rietveld Academy in Visual Arts in Amsterdam in 2007 and has worked as an independent artist ever since. Now, most people will know him from his popular Instagram page, as I say, or his controversial photographic art, or his memorable music videos for the likes of Shahin Najafi, Namjoo, and Kiosk, and his latest short film, It Was 5 in the Morning, which was shown throughout Europe. Mostafa is currently making a feature documentary on censorship in Iran, but first, right now, Mostafa Heravi joins us from Amsterdam. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir. Thank you for having me in your interview.
I'm so happy to get to talk to you. You're such an interesting artist. You know, it's hard to know where to start with you because you are.
Just will start. We're gonna have some relaxed chat.
Just go.
Yeah,
I mean, go. But you're a creator in so many different fields. Like, you are a true multidisciplinary artist. But I hear from the beginning of the pandemic, you have started to learn a totally new artistic skill, which is making cheese. So how is the cheese making going?
You know, when the pandemic started, I was thinking, what should I do? In the first I think 2 weeks, I started to make all this collage and photograph stuff. And honestly, I started to get bored. I said, now I have to do something else. So I started sending email to different farms in my area for asking volunteer works. And then some of them, of course, they don't react. I didn't even reply to my email. And then one, which is the same farm which I'm working now, they reply to my email and ask me to come, and then we can have a talk. And then
hang on a second. You randomly started emailing farms to say, "Can I?"
Yeah, just because I didn't know what should I do, and then everywhere was closed.
Right? Why not go to a farm and hang out with the cows?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And then and the guy, the owner is almost 70, 75. He's a very nice, very decent man, and they have a farm for almost 300 years, and they own this farm, and his son now is the next generation, which is now the owner. And then the day I've been there, the father was there, and I started to talk to him 1.5 meter distance because I couldn't come close.
Sure, yeah.
And then we started to chat, and then he said, well, you want to start? I said, I don't know, I just want to do something. Let me do something. And then the first day he asked me go and do something, and then so it started, and then suddenly I remember, and then there is a lady, which she is the master of the cheesemaking.
Uh-huh.
And then she needs some help, and then she asked me, can you come and then please help me for something. I went there, and then I helped her, and I looked and I said, how did it work here? And I said, do you want to come and give me a hand sometime? I said, why not? And then suddenly it started, and then after a year, almost a year now, I'm working as a cheesemaker.
So I mean, we didn't book you as a cheesemaker, but this may be you've topped all your other artworks. I mean, are you good at making cheese? Is the cheese good?
The funny thing is, before I go to the cheese making, I didn't know anything about cheese. Of course, I eat cheese. I love to eat cheese, but it was not like to go and learn or discover new stuff. It was like a cheese.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. But you know that cheese in the country, like in France, is very big thing.
Yes.
They have all kind of cheese and
Yes.
different way of to make it. And then she started to teach me how to make the good cheese, because this farm where I work in, they have a very, very famous cheese. And they make the cheese like, compared to like a Camembert and Brie.
Okay.
Cheese, yeah. And it's funny because the process of making the cheese and to add the bacteria and to add and all this stuff is really nice. You need to have a really good timing with the temperature. Everything is very connecting to each other to make very, very good juicy cheese.
Okay, yeah.
Really,
do you know how to make? Do you know how to make any kind of cheese? Can you make a pani de Tabriz now, or do you have to?
No. You know, the thing is because Tabriz. You know the Tabriz cheese. This is a kind of, they call it here feta.
Yes, sheep.
It's a feta cheese.
Your goat or sheep, yeah.
Yeah, it's a feta cheese. And the funny thing is, the farm where I'm working, they are also sheep farm. They don't have a cow. They have 700 sheep. And the funny thing is that they are one of the biggest farm in Netherlands, because in Netherlands you have most of the farm, they have cow mostly, and sometimes you have also goats, but not sheep. But this is really one of the biggest that they have sheep, and it was for me was also very surprising that they have so many sheep, and it's nice to be between them.
How do you get along with the sheep? Are they? Do you have a good relationship with the sheep?
Yeah. Of course, they are very. For somehow they are smarter than you think, actually. You know why I said they are smarter? Because when you go to their place, when there's the first time they are really scared and they're gonna run away. But after a few times when you come, they start to know you. When you come, they don't go around. They stay and just staring at you, but they don't scare. Yeah, just staring at you, and you just walk away, and
they know you,
following you.
Yeah,
they're following you.
Do the people who are running this farm know that you're a well-known political artist, Iranian artist? Like, do they have any idea who's tending their sheep and making cheese?
No, they don't even know what I'm doing.
This is the best story I've ever heard.
Yeah, I didn't even care to tell them, and they don't even not interested to ask me what you're doing.
So they didn't say, where did you come from? Why do you have a ponytail?
Yeah, of course. The only thing they asked me, why you want to come here and what you did past, and I didn't really say I'm a filmmaker or photographer. The only thing I said, because I have nothing to do, I want to be useful. I want to do something with my hands. That's why I come here, and because they are also organic farms, so they don't let normal people every time come in, because they are really precise for what they made, and they are really nice with their animals. And
sounds like you stumbled onto a good farm.
This is really a nice place, because it's really close to Amsterdam, and then after, if you just. It's really on the border of Amsterdam. It's not so far from where I live. And also when you just cycle, because in Netherlands we are cycling everywhere. I just go with bike.
I see. So you're not living at the farm with the sheep. You go back to
no.
Yeah.
I cannot. Unfortunately, I cannot live there, but I wish I could.
I'm having so much fun talking about the cheese, but let me just segue into what you do, because I'm curious. You are such an interesting, multifaceted artist. No, I mean, really, the things you do, from photography to video making to short films to visual art, in a way, I mean, I don't want to be too sophisticated about it. Maybe you've just decided to do something different, but is this adventure of the last few months of the last year, do you almost feel like it's another kind of moment of art for you in terms of making the cheese and this particular diversion?
Somehow you can say yes, somehow. And ask me why. The reason is,
Why?
because, why? There has to be some reason. Our background as artists. When you're talking about art, and doesn't matter what kind of area, what kind of particular way, is always people they want to have more, give more value to the people who work with the hands in the way if you are a photographer, like an analog photographer with that kind of background, and if you are the filmmaker with the analog filmmaker, or if you are a painter, you work with the stuff on your painting, and the people are like, they want to give you more value for what you do,
Yes.
It's a kind of, I don't know how it's come, because maybe in the past it was like this, but now in these days we live in digital world, and I think as artists, the way you can talk to the people, the fastest way is to react on the situation of the things happening in the daily life.
Yes.
Is I think is a digital work. So it doesn't matter is about photography, filming, using your phone, or anywhere you can do, and anything what you can use.
Yes.
For. That's why I think
that's very different from making cheese.
Exactly. And I think the last year, the pandemic situation, and with the social media next to it, I think it's the best way for me as artist is to use in digital world to speak and talk with the audience.
Yes.
And of course, it was a good moment for me. Of course.
Yeah. The work at the farm and the bicycling back and forth and the making the cheese hasn't slowed you in terms of your digital footprint. And
No.
and let me actually start there. If we can start 15 minutes into the interview after talking about cheese, but I mean I had to hear about the cheese. Your Instagram page I want to start at, because that is where a lot of people these days know you from, and the art, the pictures that you post. Oftentimes, Mostafa, they pack a punch with a very serious message. You recently posted a picture of a refugee walking down a catwalk in front of a crowd that would be assembled for, say, a fashion show in a high-end city, and you wrote, "Today, the world is witnessing the highest number of registered refugees. Statistics show that by the end of 2018, 71 million people from around the world had been forced to leave their homeland due to
Exactly.
war or oppression." That post alone, for example, has been seen and liked by thousands of people. Tell me about the process of coming up with that post, for example, that image, and deciding this is what I'm going to do today.
Oh, yeah. How should I explain this? I think for me, it looks like this. When I wake up, and then I start to just scrolling my telephone and reading the news and
Yes.
watching some stuff, and this is the way I start the day. And then sometimes in the beginning of the day, and then I just see the normal image, and then it's come in my head is like an idea. Hey, they have to do something with this image. Mm-hmm. And that image about that package of that refugees work, it was the image of the young boy in Refugee, which he was walking alone next to the other people. And then I was reading the newspaper and watching him, and I thought, hey, maybe I should do something about refugees. And then I just Googled some information, how is with the refugees and what's going on. And then the funny thing is, but not funny in the sense of fun, it was like, hey, it's a funny accident that now I was looking for the picture of refugee. Now I found out is now the 10th anniversary of the Syrian war. Then I can make the work about both of them. So I start first to make the war works, but when I was searching for the pictures and online, and then I find the work of refugees. So I just post first the refugees work, and after that I post the war situation.
But the Mostafa Heravi part of it, I mean, is that it's always, there's a certain juxtaposition that you always introduce. So it seems so it's not, I mean, a lot of people, I think very nobly, especially with as large a following as you have, would post a picture of a refugee, whether they'd taken it or not, and write a passage saying, hey, let's remember these refugees, or let's try and change the world. You post that picture, but then you put that person on a catwalk at a fashion show. So it's the juxtaposition that makes it so riveting. Is that something that you always look for? In other words, would you not be satisfied by just posting the picture of the refugee? I see. Yeah.
No. This is, the thing is, I always, from the beginning, when I know who I am, for me it was always, I have to find a different way to speak. Rather in my school, rather in normal relationship, and now in my art. So I always find a different language to speak, because I think if I use just normal way of speaking, that there is nothing to interest people, to wow people. Mm-hmm. When I started studying in art school, before that I was a painter, just regular normal painter. I was painting in flowers and mounting beautiful sunshine. There was nothing wrong with that, but it didn't make me satisfied. It didn't make me happy. It was like a technique and figurative stuff, and I missed something. What I missed, it was something I couldn't explain to someone. It was something I missed it as a person. So I started to read and research what should I do to find something to make me happy. And I start, hey, there is art, and it's start arts school, which they can teach you how to be an artist as a conceptual artist.
Okay.
And it was something new for me, conceptual artist. What is this then? And I start to apply for different schools. So that I discovered my school, and I find this concept. And the concept was something I missed it in my work as an artist. And then, of course, I use different medium now. And I discovered a new medium. It was photography and film. And then, during my study, I never really needed to make a work about Iran or something, or about my past, but somehow I always come to my work, I always make something about Iran, but somehow I couldn't escape from it.
Yes.
And teachers always talking, it's good. In the beginning, they were really angry about it in the beginning, because I was too busy, I was too traditional, and most of the time they hated about it was symbolic. And they told me, Mosh, if you want to be a good artist, forget the symbolic. Be a conceptual artist. And I couldn't understand what does it mean. What is the difference between symbolic and concept? And after 4 years, finally I could understand what was the concept. And I said, okay, now I know what's the concept. I have to make the work which I can speak to more people, not only the Iranian,
Yes, although, sorry to cut you off, let me just, there's a couple of things about that as you're talking that I specifically want to ask you about. First of all, just sticking with this realm, the side of you that is the person who is posting on Instagram and doing this conceptual art, this sometimes satirical, sometimes interesting juxtapositions, sometimes political. You are seemingly fearless in terms of what you post, and usually very blunt when it comes to your politics. I mean, one of your latest posts, you just referenced it when you were talking about the anniversary of the Syrian situation, that you have a post with Rouhani, Putin, and Assad shaking hands in front of rubble and ruins in Syria. But just when I think, okay, so this is an ideological guy, he's a left-wing person who's just posting this, then you have Joe Biden as a cardboard cutout. So it seems to me there's a lot of bandwidth there for all kinds of people to take issue with you or not be happy with you, No,
of course not.
But you don't. I'm going to assume that when you're posting these things, you don't worry about that. You post what you feel, what comes to you, right?
You know, Jean, it's not about what I'm not worried about. It's about this is my work. You know, I am an artist. I cannot. You know, they can censor me in Iran, or they can forbid me to do this stuff, but I cannot do to myself. You know, I can say, you know, I have to be careful. I have to be more precise and do this, do that. But you know, one thing is, I don't judge them. That I said you're bad, you're good. I just show them the world. You know, I didn't make any judgment about anything. I make the world, and I just combine them together.
You don't think Joe Biden as a cardboard cutout is a judgment?
It's depend on you how you look and how to interpret it of my work. You know, because the interpretation of any artwork is in your hand, because it is about what is your knowledge, what is your background, how you interpret it. But it's not that I want to say you have to look at it in this way or if you have to look at that way. I don't say this is black or white. I just show the work, and this is you that you decide how you want to look to this work.
Fair enough. I think that's not just honorable, but I think it's excellent. But I'm also curious that you are. It's so interesting to me what you do, because I'm so used to Persian artists and Persian filmmakers, partly as a product, to be fair to them, of coming out of a system where they were banned or censored or whatever. But I'm so used to Persian artists being so allegorical, you know? Masalan, I'm going to draw a balloon, and the balloon represents, you know, the fact that the nation could blow up any time. Exactly. Yeah. And you're not subtle. Like you're like it's you know, you go right to what you're trying to express. There's no allegorical symbolic balloon.
No,
no.
You know the problem is with symbolic in art is because they didn't written the symbol thing. It is just they have told from the father to the father, and then from father to the nation. So if we don't live in that country or that culture, and then we move to new culture and new area, they don't know that language. You know. When you talk about the symbol, they don't know about it. They don't have the background. So that's the problem. You know, when we in Iranian culture, in our culture, when we talk about, for example, about an anar, a pomegranate,
right?
Everybody said love. You know.
Right.
Of course, we know this language. We know this is our culture. This is the symbol of love in our culture, and we know it. But the person who live in Netherlands or in US, they don't have these symbols.
You're absolutely right. So you're saying that if you posted, for example, if you're talking about that Syrian situation, the ruins and the rubble, and where you've got Rouhani and Putin and Assad, if you did that in a symbolic way, it would likely be lost on Western audiences, is what
exactly.
You're saying. Interesting.
Sometimes it's nice to use a symbol, but I think it's good for the audience which they have that background, they know that language, and I think sometimes it's also difficult to speak with that language which people they don't know that language. I mean the symbolic language.
It's so true. It's so true that there are things that Persians, that Iranians understand in terms of symbolism.
Exactly.
That even me as an Iranian, but as someone who grew up outside of Iran, I don't get right away. You know, I sort of go, what does that mean? And they go, it's obvious, isn't it? The blue sky means, you know, I'm like, oh, yeah, okay.
Exactly.
You know, you're fascinating, because if I were to look at you, this like Khoshtip guy with the indie beard and the long hair and he's a cool photographer and everything, I would just guess you're some urban guy who grew up in a privileged way. Your story and your background is... it's crazy. I would have never guessed this until I was doing the research, and so I want to ask you about your background. First of all, first things first, you were born in Mashhad. You were actually born into a pretty religious conservative family from early childhood, and you were encouraged to take up drawing, but it was also reciting the Quran and calligraphy. Exactly. What was little Mustafa like growing up in Mashhad?
What should I tell? Because this is story getting so long, and
just tell me what if I met you as a 5-year-old, what kind of kid would I be meeting?
Oh no! If about when I was 5, I was like a child. with a lot of dream. And but if you see me as a 15 years old, then it's a completely different story, because what you said, I was growing in very religious and family. Still, my family is very religious, and I was a rebel. There was something about me, in myself, I couldn't understand, and I think the one of the most important thing that made me rebel, because the area where we were living in the very poor and very southern Mashhad, and it was very, there was nothing happening, and it was the war time. It was the time that Iran was in a war situation, and it was nothing to do there. And then I was looking for something to discover, and then funny thing is, in one day, it was we had neighbors, and these neighbors, they had a bus which they traveled from Iran to Turkey, and then that was their job. And then every time they was coming back from the Turkey, and they start to wash their bus on the street, and then sometimes they throw everything from the bus in the street, and then I suddenly find and tape, and the old tape. And I was really curious about that tape, what's going to be inside this tape. So after searching for a tape player, I could listen to that. It was the music of the band Kiss. At that day, I didn't know anything about the music.
Which band? What was the band?
Kiss.
Oh, Kiss. Oh, okay, Kiss.
Yeah, Kiss. And then, and that day, I didn't know anything about the band or the music. It was really eye-opener for me. It was a new world. That kind of thing did something to me to start to discover new world, and I just completely changed my way from my family to the way I thought maybe it's going to be better for me.
You started painting your face and sticking out your tongue, I guess.
Exactly that kind of thing. But I tell you, the day I found the tape, nobody knows in my area who are they or what kind of music is. Nobody knows about it. Actually, I found out about them 10 years after that. When I was 25.
Right.
Finally, I know.
You thought you had discovered Kiss. You were the only person who knew about Kiss.
Because nobody knows. It was, the only thing they were listening there, it was Javad Yasseri, Abbas Qadiri, that kind of music, It's this foreign language which nobody knows, and then what they are doing. Either no one had interest about it, but it was always in my head, who are they and what are doing.
That's so interesting.
After 10 years, I found out there is after that, I moved and I went to India, I traveled, I started to discover a new world, and then finally I found out they are rock band, which they live in the United States, and they all do kind of crazy stuff. And then I find also finally the video, and I could see all the shows, and I discovered them. But maybe that kind of smart trick, that kind of thing, maybe tricked me to do something different.
You wouldn't have been the first kid inspired to be a rebel by the band Kiss. Exactly. And by the way, so you're studying painting and calligraphy and the Quran in childhood, but then you become a hairdresser for a while. You're
exactly,
which is a natural evolution. Were you a good hairdresser?
I cannot say I'm very good, but I'm good to earn money. I was good.
Are you a better hairdresser or cheesemaker?
For sure, I'm a better hairdresser. For sure. Come on, I did this for the decades.
Oh wow! I didn't know it was that long. Okay,
yeah,
it wasn't just on a farm for a year during a pandemic. That was
the cheeses during the pandemic.
Yes,
the barber.
I know you were a barber in Mashhad, but I didn't know it was 10 years. Wow. Okay, so that was a serious part of. Well, you must be good then, and around that time, this is before you hit your mid-20s. You mentioned India. I understand that you traveled to India a few times. once you wanted to, I mean, the thing about you, man, is once you start digging beneath the surface, there's a gold mine of stories with
listen,
you. So you wanted to go to India on a camel, and you went to buy some camels.
Exactly. I want to tell you this story. When I remember that days, I always start to laugh. Let me tell you. It was a time I really want to travel.
Okay.
It was a time there was a program which was showing on the TV. It was Silk Road. It was about Marco Polo.
Yes.
I was really inspired by this city, and I always watch it, and I had a lot of dream about it. And I, sorry.
نکنه کووید گرفتی از این
نه کووید نیستش. نه کووید نیست لامه سب همش اتفاق میفته مشکل نیست.
Okay.
There was a group of guy who was traveling with the camel to China, and they was traveling via my city Mashhad, and they was staying there and for a couple of days, and it wasn't news. I was really so inspired. I said I have to go to meet them.
Sure.
So I went there and I find them. There was an Italian guy, Dutch guy, and I was looking to them. I said I have to do the same. I was like 19 or 20 or something, and so of course they left, and it was really memorable moment for me. So I decided I'm gonna quit my job and I go to Tabaz, and I'm gonna buy a few camels, and then I start my own journey.
You're gonna buy a camel. What was the plan? The plan was to buy some camels and then ride the camels to India.
No, to China.
This is in like the 1990s.
It's a night exactly.
Yeah.
And then,
by the way, did any of your friends or family know about these crazy ideas?
Yeah, I know. When I start to tell, everybody start to laugh because they know I was in a complete different world.
Okay.
I went to the Tabas. Tabas is the province. It is the state next to our city.
Okay.
I had some address which they sell the camel, but it was not exactly. So I've asked many people on the road. Finally, I want the right places. And I went there and I asked the owner for the camel.
I really need you to take a breath. I really want you. I want you to. Don't worry about it. Take a moment.
I don't know what happened. After
you're having an allergic reaction to remembering the camels, I think.
Yeah, I think now is better. Excuse me, man. Sorry for the interruption.
It's okay. So there's a town near Mashhad where you can get camels.
Yes.
Is that?
Yeah. It's not near Mashhad. It's like 400 or 500 kilometers from the Mashhad.
Okay.
It's that area like Tabas, Persian. They have always a camel. But the funny thing was, I went there and I was so enthusiastic about what I'm doing. And the owner of the place, he asked me, "What you want?" I said, "I just went there with a taxi. I took the taxi in the city, and that area was out of the city. It was like in a neighborhood. It's a neighborhood that was not really in the city. And then I went with the taxi there, and then." The owner asked me, "What you're doing here?" I said, "I come to buy a camel." He was looking at me. He wanted to start to laugh, but he didn't. I said, "Okay, which one you want?" I said, "Show me what you have." I was really serious. And then
by the way, I love that you took a taxi to buy a camel, to ride the camel to China.
And then he started to walk with me. And then all the guy they were working there, and they were all asking to each other, doing this guy here, and okay. And I was from the city, at the time I was really like, they call it, in Farsi, I don't know what's in English, like, we call it in Farsi, susul.
like sort of a sissy, or like a mama's boy.
I've been there, and then the owner said, how many camel you want? I said, list 3, but tell me how much it costs. I have to check I have enough money. And then I can't decide. And then he gave me the price, and I saw I have not enough money. So finally I choose 2 camels.
Okay, can I just ask you?
And then I bought them.
Why do you need 2 camels to ride to China?
Because
could you not just save a bit of money and ride
the
one?
reason is
is the other camel to carry things? Is that
exactly, because the first of all, it looks nice, it's more professional, and then of course it's more nice, man.
Who are you trying to impress? It looks.
I maybe myself. I didn't know. I didn't care about it. I want to do something different. I want to do something.
It looks nice. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just bought these 2 camels and I give them a name, and I was so happy. And the guy said, "Hey, listen, if you."
What were the names of the camels?
I don't remember, but I know one was I gave them a name Taleh. Like
a trap, kind of.
Yeah, trap, exactly.
Taleh,
I just call it trap. Yeah, exactly, trap.
Okay.
The one was trap, the other one I forget. But doesn't matter the name. The funny part is here.
Oh, this wasn't the funny part. We haven't got to the funny part. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. The guy he sold he sold me, but he said you don't have to pay me, but you have to stay with this camel to know you, because if you want to travel them, you have to stay with them. They have to use to it that you are now the owner.
It's like a child. They have to acclimatize to you before you can adopt them. Right,
and then you can be the owner, and they trust you, and then you can start to. Wasn't nice. So I really literally sleep there in that place, in Istanbul.
With the camels.
With the camels for 3 nights.
Right.
And then all these people
with Taleh and the other camel. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Who you were going to go to China with.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah.
This story is so crazy. I think people are excited about this guy.
No, I think actually it's clear this is a true story because no one could make this shit up. So keep going. So you're with the camels.
People are listening to this guy. He has something.
They now understand your art a lot better, I think.
And then the guy after 3 days come, because I was really getting really close to these animals, and it was like we had some relation suddenly, and I said, this journey going to be my journey, I was really into it. And then the guy come.
You had bonded with the camels.
Exactly. Our bond was really, I feel it. It was really close. It was really something unique.
Yes.
The guy, he was like 60 or something. He came to me, and then he sat next to me, and then he had also a cup of tea, and then he gave to me, and then we started drinking, and then he said, I will tell you something. I said, yes. He said, the day that you came here, you are so enthusiastic and so pure. I didn't want to disappoint you. And I really didn't know that you are so serious. I said, what do you want to say? I said, honestly, these camels are not for traveling. They are for eating.
For eating?
They cannot even walk for 100 meters. I said, what are you talking? I said, these camels are not for traveling. We just have them, we bring them here, and then we feed them to finally go to the slaughter. I said, what are you talking about?
They were meant to be killed for food.
Exactly. And
so this is Taleh and the other camel that you've now grown a relationship with too, and you're planning your trip to China.
Yeah, they just, the guy who he burned my whole dream, and I said, what do you mean? Where can I find a good camel? He was laughing. He said, I thought you were joking. I said, no, man, I'm not joking. I'm serious. He said, I don't know, but there has to be some other places where they have really camel for traveling.
Can I just ask you a question here? Did you really, so the idea was you didn't just want to go to China or go to India. It was important to go by camel. Really, what was the reason why I know the Marco Polo, the Silk Road, but was it really that important to be riding a camel and have a second camel?
Honestly, that day I didn't know what I'm doing. Still, I don't know. Honestly,
But you were deep in negotiations for camels somewhere in Iran.
Yeah, I know. It is so idiot what I'm talking, but it was some idea, and I want to make it happen.
Right. Okay.
You know, it was not about this is right or is not right, or is happening or not.
So what happened to what happened to our two friends, the camels that you had slept with?
Yeah, I left them. I was really, the moment I left that place, I was really sad, and I just took the bus, and then for 6 hours back to my city, and then I was like someone love his his love, and I was really for a couple of days very down, and then I start to say, you know what, forget the camel, I'm gonna go with walk to India. And I start to traveling to India and to Pakistan. And
wait, you're going to go how to India?
Not exactly walking. I went with the bus to Zahedan, and then from Zahedan to the border, and then from border I start to hike, and then hiking to Delhi. Yeah, it was very useful for me at that age. Yeah, I learned a lot.
What did you learn? What did you learn from these trips to India?
I think the most important thing for me was I was with myself, It was me and me.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have any worry about the life and future and what's going to happen to me. It was just me, and I was eating what it was possible and what I could find, and it was beautiful. Everything was pure and real. And that experiment was beautiful. I don't want to say it was very spiritual. Yeah, maybe it was spiritual actually, because I don't want to go to that way. Make it like I am an author. No, it was not like this. It was like a more something for myself. I could finally, when I was in the age of 20, and maybe one of the reasons also I was out of Iran and I had no any
By the way,
problem.
Have you ever told the camel story before? I mean, in an interview?
Not so much. No, this is the first time.
I watched a bunch of your interviews. Of course, they're in Farsi, but I don't remember any camel stories. That's an incredible story. Very sad story. That Taleh and the other camel have long been eaten by some
of course,
somebody.
Sure. 25 years ago.
Yes. So around 2000, I guess the year 2000, you finally decide to leave Iran for good after, I guess, knowing that you like to travel but what was the precipitant for leaving Iran? Why was it important for you to finally leave?
I think that those days I had a lot of problem with the government, I can say, because they always when I was walking the street or if I was finished with my work and something, I was always I always had some feeling of somebody watching me, And then I remember it was a day, it was a night. I was finished my work and I was waiting for the taxi, and then there was a car that stopped in front of me. Sit, and I was like, "What's going on?" And the guy said to me, you think you're different, and while we're watching you, be careful with what you're doing. That kind of stuff, It was like I didn't like the way I was talking.
Sure.
I said, "No, I cannot live like this."
Mustafa, was your art by this point getting censored in Iran?
At that day, I was painting, and I was really serious about it, and but I was not so far, in the sense of to know what I'm doing.
You weren't maruf yet.
No, not only that, but also I didn't myself as a person. I was still searching.
So when you if one of the reasons you left Iran was because of the nature of censorship of art, it wasn't necessarily that you were getting censored. It was the suppressive kind of atmosphere in general.
Exactly. The whole suppression was maybe the reason I left the country. Yeah.
You end up going to Netherlands, and again, this is an extraordinary story that that doesn't involve camels, but it involves you. I mean, first you go to Tajikistan, where you end up staying for 5 months in Tajikistan. What were you doing there?
Why you ask me that kind of thing?
This is your life, man.
You know, this is because we make it short. The funny thing is, I went to Tajikistan and I signed as a keeper in the football team, soccer team. I started to play football.
So listen, forget making movies. You are the movie has to be made about you. So were you was it a professional league that you become? I knew this story, of course. Well, that's why I'm asking you about Tajikistan. But I'd been tipped off to this. So you start playing professional soccer in Tajikistan?
I was playing in Iran, semi-professional football player. I was a keeper. I was a goalkeeper.
Uh-huh.
And I was not really good, but I was good. Not really good. If they ask me, you were good? No, I was okay. But when I went to Tajikistan, because I was waiting there to find the way to go from there to Europe, I feel like I get here really bored. I have to do something with my life, and I have to wait here. And it was a very strange time because the country was just past the war, and everything was demolished, and it was crazy. And one day I was jogging on the street, and I discovered the stadium, and I went inside the stadium, and I see the team. They were playing football, and I said, "Hey, I have to do this."
Right.
And I went to the coach. I said, "I'm a keeper. Can I come play here?" And the guy who said, "You know which we are?" That was the best team of Tajikistan. You know, the team was called Varzab. Varzab was like the Persepolis and the Istiqlal of Iran. You know, that kind of.
Uh-huh.
And the guy said, "Are you so good?" I said, "No, you can try me, and I can hear, and then we can see." And I said, "Come," and I start to train with them. He said, "Now you're good enough." And I was the second keeper. And there is a very funny story, but I don't want to tell here because people have said this guy, he really used something that's... because the story is also so crazy. If I tell it here, everybody said, "No, this guy is crazy."
Okay, what's the short form of the story?
It was so crazy that the short version is I really want to play once with the team, but because I was second keeper, they never let me to play. So finally, I get the chance to show myself as a keeper. And it was a match between the two best team of Tajikistan. Varzab with another team. There was something in the north, and then there were.
Are you being paid? You've been hired now. By this
I
team.
was hired. Yeah, I was. The first of all, I was training there, and they liked my style and they liked me as a keeper because they had only one keeper. And they said, "If you want, you can stay here. We just make a sign with you for 3 months, and then you can play for us." And I was like, happy. Why not?
Right.
So I started playing football suddenly from nowhere. And then, and this story is like this. I was hoping one day they give me the chance, which I can show myself I am a good keeper. And then that day come. And the day come, and I was sitting on the seat, and then the keeper, which he was a good keeper, and he gets injured, and then he's left the play, and the coach asked me, now is the time that you can shine. I said, nice, I can finally show I'm a good keeper.
Right.
And then I went to the goal, and I was really happy. Now finally I can show my skills and then how good I am. And then the funny thing is, well, the play was starting. We were like 35 minutes or something left. And then suddenly, the whole stadium, they stood up. And all the doors get open. And there is a tank. And all the cars come in the middle of the field.
Oh.
And I did what's going on here. And it was a guy. His name was Samandar Khan. He come very mad, and he spoke to the both coaches and to the referee, and everybody was still. And then the tanks all went out of the field, and I was like, "What's going on here?" And the guy, the midfield, our captain, he come to me. He said, "Mosh," because they were also Persian and Farsi, the Tajik
Yes,
Farsi.
yes.
And he said to me, "What's going on?" I said, "No." He said, that guy is standing there?" I said, "No." He said, "This is Samandar Khan." He said, "Okay, who is he?" He said, "He's the owner of the field. He's the owner of the team." He said, "What's going on?" He said, "He wants to see the play from the beginning. He's too late. That's why he asked me to start it from the beginning."
So the game had to be restarted?
We started from the beginning again. And I was like, "Okay." He said, "What is the problem?" The problem is he wanted to play himself also.
Oh, and he wanted to play. Did he play goal? Did he replace you?
So the guy went to the room, he changed, and he come back with a number in the back, 10. It was the number 10.
Okay, he's the striker. He's the main man.
He was a striker.
Yeah.
I was like standing there. These 3 months, I was hoping for this moment. He ruled my.
But you were still in the game though, right?
Yeah, but when he came, there was no more game. It was like, what is this? The whole play have to start from the beginning. And
Right. What kind of league is this? Right.
Yeah.
Right. So the story is, I mean, I'm almost scared to ask you this story, but you're en route to Netherlands, and you end up going, once you finally leave Tajikistan, you go through Turkey, Greece, Italy, France, and you are arrested a few times as you in the process of getting to Netherlands. Why were you arrested?
I didn't arrested a few times, but I arrested. But the reason is because we crossed the border illegally,
Why didn't you apply for a visa to Netherlands, by the way?
You didn't get a visa at that time. Still not.
So where was it that you got arrested? Which place?
Many refugees, they come from different countries like Iran, Afghanistan, and Pakistan, all the countries, that area. They just come through Turkey to Europe. They just come first to Turkey, and then they cross the border via the Greece.
Yes.
And then from Greece, either with a truck or with ship, they just travel to Europe. They come to the Schengen.
Yes.
That's the way. It is, everybody use it, and I did it the same way. And the most difficult part is the part from Turkey to Greece, because there is the river, which is sometimes very rough and heavy, that you cannot cross if you cannot swim, and it really is dangerous. And there are many people, they lost their life there, and it's a very sad place and sad situation. I don't know these days, but I heard it's almost the same. The last 20 years is all the same. I think there's nothing changed, but the way that's happened is still the same. It's the same situation.
Right. There must have been times on this journey that you thought you would never make it to Netherlands, between your momentary football career in Tajikistan and your detainment and your issues. When you arrive in Netherlands, from what I understand, you had to live in a refugee camp, or more than one refugee camp.
Yeah. Yes.
Tell me about that. Tell me about the experience of, this is not theoretical now. This is not an artist imagining what it's like to be a refugee. This is you living in refugee camps. What kind of, Mustafa, impact did that have on your character?
I think for every person, every Iranian, even it's not about Iranian, every human being, of course, it has a lot of impact on your life and your way of thinking, or even in your future. And for me, I'm always looking. I have to see this situation even as a problem as opportunity. And I was in the camp, and I was looking and searching for the way out of the whole situation. Of course, I couldn't, because that days the Dutch government, they didn't give very fast and permit, and not because I asked the asylum, and they didn't give me. They even reject me, and I start to live in the street, but not literally. I should go to the street, but of course I found the friends and I started to live with them. And then the same time, I was not give up. I said I have to move on, and there has to be a hope. And I start to go to apply for the university and art schools, and I get to the art school, which I was already rejected from the being in Netherlands, and I was studying there. They had a lot of impact because it was really not good days, because always think anytime maybe they come and then they catch you and they send you back to your country where you come from. But the same time I was always hoping or was told, no, it's not going to happen, because I am now here, I have to stay here. And finally I graduated in 2007, and the same year it was a kind of rule in the whole country, which the people are coming from back in 2000, and before that they get it was a camera, they call it a general pardon. It was like a rule, and everybody get permit to stay in Netherlands, that they get a Dutch citizen, and I was lucky one of that person.
How did it affect your art, that period of being living in refugee camps?
It was really, it happened so many crazy things there, and there are, for me, most of them, they are like a piece of art, which you can also even make a movie about them. I think at that time I was not really so active artist, because most of the time I was thinking to be survived and to live here, and
right.
I was really busy, literally and physically, to survive, to stay there. And the art was in back of my head, but was not really visible in my life. And when I started art school, because 3 years, it took me time to enter into the art school. And that 3 years, I was searching, and I was busy to find a place to establish myself as a person, as a human in the country. And suddenly, in the university, it was like a hope. It was like something new for me. And I was thinking, I was told to myself, you have to be a good artist. That when you left this school, people are talking about you. So I was doing my best. The whole 4 years studying, I was doing all kind of crazy stuff which I could. And I hope I did something which I was proud for, of course, still.
You know, you don't seem like someone who, now that I'm talking to you at least, you don't seem like someone who cares a lot about material rewards.
No.
I mean, you're not doing what you do to live in a castle, or to, have some upscale penthouse in Paris or something. And I wonder if that's partly because, I mean, look, you're a guy who's decided to make cheese for the last year, and as you ride your bicycle there. Do you think that's partly because of all that you've been through, that you've somehow realized that life is not about the acquisition of fancy objects that some Iranians tend to be so consumed by, let alone people from the rest of the world as well. But we do tend to be a culture that likes our BMWs and that type of thing,
Jian, to be honest with you, if I can earn money today, like $1 million, I wish to have. Of course, I want, and I wish to have a big car and a villa, my private jet. And if I could, I did it for sure.
Okay.
But it was never the queen of my mind. It was never in my mind to live or make something to reach to that. It was not my goal. I think always my goal was to earn money to live. To earn money, to have money to go to the vacation, to buy the stuff what you need. But it was not like I have to be a rich man, that people all look to me and said, look, this guy is rich. No, and still not. But I have to say, if I can reach to that position to earn that money, I will do it. But it's never, and it's not still my attention.
How did you become the go-to guy for so many prominent alternative artists in the Persian music scene to be the music video maker? I mean, you've made some of the best known videos when it comes to contemporary Persian alternative music. I don't know what else to call it. These are artists who are well known but are not down the middle pop artists, for example. I'm talking about Shahin Najafi or Mohsen Namjoo or the video for Yaran Biya by Kiosk. How did you become the guy who's at the center of all of that?
I think the most of the thing was the lack of having a good music video, and also the passion of the love of music myself. Both of this is a combination of this, because the most of the video, the past, there is no concept, there is no any content. It is a collage of image of the singer, of vocalist, of the band which they play in the background, and they don't play it. They don't even plug the mic in the microphone, and that still they does. They have the same things, and they think people they don't know, and that was for me always a frustration. I said, come on, people, we are not stupid. If you want to play or you want to make a video, make it like real. Right. Why we hear the violin in the video, and there is no violin? Why the guy is check the guy he play a tabla, or he's playing in crazy rock drum, and in the music we hear and then I was like, where is this sound that they are playing?
But it's not just that. I mean, Iranian videos, I don't want to, of course there's fantastic exceptions to the rule, but I think of Pishtar Ahmad by Ali Azimi, but in general the videos have not been so inspiring, not just coming out of Iran, of course, where it's difficult maybe to make that kind of, but even the stuff coming out of LA. Why not? Why hasn't that been something that Iranian artists or that the Iranians haven't been better at?
I cannot talk about them because they have to explain themselves. But in my view, in my opinion, was because I think most of the artists, especially the artists or musicians, which to move to LA, they were so busy to first of all to find the position or place for themselves, and second of all they were not busy with the concept or what's going on in Iran. If you look in the music, what they made in the 40 years, in the last 40 years, honestly, come on, it's beautiful. I don't have a problem with that, but you don't see any really music with the concept or with the content. Is all beautiful. We need them also when we want to be happy. We will go to the party. We need them, but 90% of the music, this is the content, and this is the way they made. It's
right. The
10% is
music, yeah.
Very, very cheeky and music which they have done so many times, and they still done. And of course, many people love to hear it and they want to have it. There is not a problem, but for people, for me at that time, 10, 15 years ago, it was like there has to be some change. There has to be different image. There has to be something different sound that we need to, because the day when I was living here, I never listened to any Iranian music. It's not something which I'm proud about it, because it was not the music I was hoping. Some kind of like Farhad or Feydun Furugi, or sometimes the kind of guy that was nice of Kurushah. I was listening to that kind of, but further than this, they didn't make any connection to the Iranian music, And then suddenly in 2000, it started a new generation, a new happening. It was like, at that time they call it underground music start. And then all the kind of band like, at that time they were really the beginner, or they were the first stop. They were like Oham, like Hash, like that days they were the beginning of that kind of music. And then a few years later, the bands like Mod or Razi Shab, they were also the beginner. And for me, it was something fresh. It was something which I was waiting for. And Mohsen, at that time, Mohsen Namjoo, he was playing with the band The Mod, with Abdi Behramver and the 4 other guys, which they have also their own bands, and Mohsen was playing with them. And the first time I heard the music of their music, it was 2003 or 4, and it was the concert which they give in Birgen. And the first time I just heard, or I just saw the image, it was for me like, wow, finally it could start to happen, you know. And that it was like something new for me. And I was an artist, and I hoped that now I can do something with this. I want to make a video about this. I want to change the whole view of the situation, because why, when we have the music, and then it has to be so stupid. It has to be something maybe nice, the story parallel with this, and the telling, and the bringing something new word. And then finally I met Mohsen in 2006 or 7 in Amsterdam. He was coming to Amsterdam for the International Film Festival. And we met each other there. And I remember I told him, I said, Mohsen, I really love to make something with you. And then he said, let's do. And then he went to Iran. And after 5 months, again, he back to Netherlands. And the day that he came back again to Netherlands, it was really the same with the time that it was the Green Movement in Iran, you know, yes. the election problem. And then I remember we were sitting with a few friends, and then we were watching on the CNN, the news, and then mostly looked to me and said, Moshe, he said, yeah. He said, let's do something. I said, what do you mean? He said, we make some video, and then we just dedicate it to the people who just died on the street. I said, let's do it. And then at that day, we made the first video together, and that video called Biaban. And it was in 2008, I think, yeah. And it was the beginning. And then the moment that we start that video, it was like something also for me. And then after that, I made the Yaron Bia, and then we made the Gladiator Ha, which was 2 years after that. And then I start to make all the idea in my head, to bring them in the songs. Most of the time is my own interpretation about the song. Is not sometimes literally the songs is
right.
It's really my interpretation. So I listen to the whole song, and sometimes I just took the piece of the song and I make the whole image, the whole story about
there's a video you made for Shahin Najafi last year that's shot in India that
exactly.
He's not even in it. It's
no. That video also about the JSA in India is more it's not religious, it's not it's more my interpretation about that song, you know. Is it combining with the song and the image, and that's the whole thing. So of course, will
you make a video for anyone? You've got these big names, but if a young band comes to you and has a budget, you would do it.
You know, the most of these videos, I never ask about the money, what you want to pay me, or how much you have. It's all about the love of the art and the music. You know, when they send me the demo or the song, and if I like the song or I have some connection with that song, and then right away come the whole idea and the image in my head, and I don't have to think about it. When I hear the song, and the same time is the image with the song in my head.
Gotcha.
And I just call and say, hey, listen, I hear your song, and I just listen it, and I know what I have to do. When we can start, you know, that's it.
Listen, between the cheese making and the camel story and the trip to the Tajikistan and talking to you about your Instagram, I fear I've taken too much of your time, but I won't keep you too much longer. But there's a few questions I'm really interested in, and I'm so much enjoying talking to you. You know, you said something earlier that I made a little note of. You said it when we began talking, that your art is mostly, that what you do is mostly about Iran. It's interesting to me. I wanted to come back to that because you've been living outside of Iran for over 20 years now. I mean
2 decades,
basically half your life almost outside of Iran.
Yeah.
Why are you still, do you think, so drawn to making art about Iran? Why don't the events that happen around you in Amsterdam, if there's a fire down the street or a COVID problem in London, why doesn't that inspire you? Tell me about the connection you still feel to commentary about Iran.
Come on, Jean, you cannot ask an Iranian artist why you make art about Iran. This is something inside me. This is part of me. I cannot. I grew up there. I live there. I have a family there, and I still want to go back. I hope one day. And there is so many history there and so many beautiful arts which they made in so many artists, and I want to be a part of this. So I can live here in Western country without any problem. I can make, which I do. Of course, I do. I do here a lot of arts of Western work for the company I work, and there is nothing to do with Iran, and they give me also compliment for what I do. But they never satisfies me. You know, they always things make me happy to really what I want to do. It's making and work which the people are in Iran or someone send me a message and is inspired of that work and is happy to see this. You know, for me, it's very important. I decide to be a social or artist. I don't want to say myself, I don't want to call myself as a political artist because my work is normally social issues or environment or sometimes political, but it's never been my attention. It just happens sometimes because of the days what we are living. For me, is important. You know, I believe every people which they make art, even somebody make a nude photography or painting the flowers, they are all arts, and I respect them. But I decided to be an artist which bring this question mark in people's heads. I want to make some consciousness. I want to make some awareness in people's mind with the work that I make.
Who do you see or who is I mean, each one of your posts, for example, on Instagram gets thousands and thousands of comments and likes. And who is your audience?
If we look at the age, I think most of the audience are between 23 until 40. And of course, as a gender, most of them, the young men's are more than the women's. But this is the age which they are following me.
Are they in Iran?
Most of the time, of course, in Iran. Of course, I don't know. Sometimes I get a message, of course, many times from Arabic country like in Egypt, in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon.
And people call you controversial. Do you think you're controversial?
Yeah, it can. I am a controversial. I'm not an artist which will make flowers or portrait of some. Of course, I'm bring a question mark. I bring a situation. I bring the different levels and I put in your face. You know, of course, if this is a controversial, then I am a controversial artist.
Do you care if people have I mean, I'm thinking about that video you made, the Gladiator video with Namjoo, and there's nudity in that, and I can only imagine that there was some controversy around that. Do you care?
Of course. So at that day, it was the big problem. Many people are talking. Some people are thinking this is taboo. It is finally some artists will start to break through and bring a new idea. But the thing is, I don't want to make censure about myself. You know, I'm an artist. I study in Western countries, which is open-minded, and I want to be open-minded artist. I don't want to be any border of any border about making art because my background is Muslim. I come from Iran. I have to be careful. Maybe there is a woman sitting with a child watching my work. I don't care about this. I want to make a piece of art and the audience which they can make a connection to that. That's all about. And then what kind of audience they want to connect to this. This is the audience which they are living in Iran, but they have a connection with modern world. They know what's art. They know how to communicate with world. They even speak English. So this is the audience I want to speak to them, and they are the future, and I want to be a part of this.
Let me ask you about being political, whether you intend to or not. I mean, some of your work is overtly political. You have a post on your Instagram where someone is hanged in the middle of a crowded train, when people are sort of indifferent and minding their own business. I would call that political. I would call your beautiful short film, it was 5 a.m, it's called, about the death penalty to be political. But a lot of the other work that you do isn't. And yet, this is a question that we've been meditating on recently on Roqe, and I want to put it to you. Do you think it's possible for an Iranian artist to not be political, in the sense that everything is kind of seen through that prism or put through that funnel, whether you intend it to be or not?
It can be, because the thing is, when you are Iranian, anyway, somehow you have a connection with politics. Even if you escape from, they come to your work. But I myself always try to not be really political. I always want, even if I make work about politic situation or about issue with political problems, I don't want to choose parts, or this is a good way and that's the bad way. I just want to make them and then bring them the message, but I don't want to judge myself that in that work. I don't want to give them a people, you have to think that way or you have to think this way. This is good. I don't want to do this, and I'm never trying to do this. The reason to make the work of someone hanging or executing middle of the metro in the subway, it was because this situation, hanging people in front of the public in Iran is a normal thing. It's happening all last 40 years, and this kind
almost like people are becoming numb to it, is what the message
exactly
seems to be. Tell me about this recent film that you're working on about censorship in Iran. What's the focus there?
To not giving up, and if you want to proceed your dream, you have to try and just go for it.
It has been so profoundly interesting talking to you. That
Cheers,
of course, of all the things that you've said and all the things that I've learned, all the insights, you know what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about the 2 camels. I'm thinking about Taleh, who you left.
Taleh.
The heartbreaking part for me is that you left the camels. If I were you, I would have, knowing that you couldn't travel with the camels, I still would have come out with the camels, taken care of the camels, having bonded with them. Maybe you could have brought them back to Mashhad, and they could have finished their life instead of being slaughtered. You were heartless to leave Taleh alone there.
I know what you mean. This is also the good way of looking to that situation. It's very romantic. But in the reality, it was not.
It was not practical to return with the 2 hobbled camels.
Because I told you I was really young and very energetic. I have to do this. I want to be next Marco Polo. But in practice, it was not. It was not done. No, it was not done.
Mustafa John, thank you for this. Be safe.
Cheers, man.
I can't wait to come visit you in a post-COVID world and to be taken to the farm.
Next time, yeah, exactly. If next time you are here in Amsterdam or in the area, let me know. Come to check the farm.
Wait.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful there.
And thank you for the work you do. I know there's a lot of people who listen to Roqe who are fans of yours and will really enjoy listening to this. Thanks so much.
Thank you, man.
Khudafis.
Khudafis. Thank you, man. Bye.
That is the great Mostafa Heravi, the renowned photographer, visual artist, video and filmmaker, known for his social, critical, and satirical approach. You can find him on Instagram at Mostafa Heravi. We'll put a link to that on our site. Mustafa joined us from Amsterdam today. hands are back on for Groovy Shia, the fabulous Kian, Savi Roham joining us as well. Oh my God, I'm just thinking about that camel story, and I don't know if when the last time I've laughed so much in an interview. He threw me off there. That the cheese making, playing soccer, playing net in Tajikistan. Wow, Mostafa Heravi, I am so in love with him. That is that was fun. Jeez, Keon?
I have this strange sudden urge to go out and buy a camel and go through the desert.
You need two. It looks better with two.
I get it. I get his point. The first time I read The Alchemist, I had this fantasy built that I would go out in the desert with a bunch of camels. This guy went out and actually did that. Or tried to, at least. Who is this man?
Taleh, and the other camel.
This guy, he's a character.
I mean, his work is for all that fun and games. I mean, he's a fascinating artist, but he's definitely a unique personality. The idea of he finds the tape and the kiss tape, and that's his sort of portal into alternative culture is finding this cassette tape of the band Kiss.
By seeing his art, I had some guess that he has a good sense of humor, but he is really
he's a character.
Yeah, he is a character.
I wonder. I mean, he lives in Amsterdam. I wonder if before this interview, I wonder if there was some imbibing of some. I mean, he from the get-go, he was just having a good time today. He was rocking and rolling there. I mean, maybe it's just the sheep and the cheese. I don't know. But. Savi Roham, did you enjoy that?
Yeah, very much.
Thank you, Savi Roham.
I don't know why.
Solid as a rock.
I got the image of Borat when he was describing his stint in the soccer team. But which country was he in? Uzbekistan? Tajikistan.
Not Kazakhstan.
What?
Poor guy. Tajikistan's a lovely place.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Not. Oh man, I mean, he's like, and he turns up in all these places, and there's always a story.
But see, that's how life should be lived. Like he felt like making cheese one day, and he went out to a farm and decided to learn. That's beautiful.
Says the woman who yelled at her boyfriend preemptively before he delivered the jewelry that he had brought for her.
I aspire to be like Mustafa. I just will never get there.
And at the end of the day, he lived his life like Marco Polo. You know? He's always traveling.
It's true. I mean, he's on an adventure. This guy. I mean, even just during COVID, he's like, I got bored after a few days of posting things, so he starts to email to who even thinks of, I'm going to email farms to see who I can go to work on a farm.
I feel like
to make
making cheese today.
And when I was like, do they know who you are? No, they don't know who I am. Wow.
Amazing.
Listen, I know we've got letters to get to. Before I get to letters, I want to give a shout out to some of our new patrons. I talked earlier in the show, you get, the rock stars and of course, our for $25 a month, you're an idol. For $10 a month, you're a BFF of ours. And I want to mention some of them because we really appreciate this. If we have an idol named Mahsa Yousefipur, who's in Toronto. I just want to mention her because she was one of the first people, I think maybe even the first person to sign up, and has consistently been supporting Roqe. So a big thanks to Mahsa. Thank you so much, Mahsa Yousefipur in North York, not far from where we are. And we also have some new BFFs: Shirin Karamifar, Amir Fouad Farshi. Fuad Farshi and Sahar Khan Boloki, who is I know her. She runs the Sahar K Boloki art gallery. It's a new Persian art gallery in Toronto and Yorkville. It's fabulous. She represents some great artists. Thank you so much to Sahar. You can support us and become a patron at roqemedia.com. All right, it's Monday. It is time for Letters of the Week. What do you got, Kia?
All right.
What do you got for us?
So 2 weeks ago on episode 81, we had an in-depth interview with Shahriar Mandanipur, one of the most accomplished and successful writers of contemporary Iranian literature. So on Facebook, we have Nazila Rafizadeh says, "Well done, Roqe Team. Shahriar Mandanipur had amazing stories from his life, some heartbreaking, some sweet. The memory of the failed bus crash assassination felt like a permanent wound in his words.
That's another interview, very different from Mostafa Heravi, but I really hope people will go back and listen to that if you've not done so already from a couple of episodes ago. What a beautiful storyteller.
Yeah,
he's literally a beautiful storyteller as his job, but even within that interview, some of his anecdotes and some of his ideas were just gold. I want to actually go back and listen to it myself. Thank you to Shahriar, and thank you to that letter writer, Nazila.
Yes, that's right, yeah. So as well, a few weeks ago, the question of what the English equivalent of the word Aghazadeh came up. And that was...
What did we say it was? It was like we couldn't figure... We said like Trump Jr., right? Don Jr.
Yeah, I mean, we discussed that it's not necessarily the son of the Akhund. It's the son of the guy who works in the government. And all
okay.
that,
All right.
Yeah, so a few people wrote about that specifically. We have on YouTube username Yurek Beg wrote, the closest concept to Aghazadeh I have heard in Canadian context is trust fund baby.
Oh, okay.
Sure, that could work.
Can an Aghazadeh be a woman or no?
Yeah.
Like can Ivanka Trump be an Aghazadeh?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, so then we have a Marjan Hajfurush emailed us to say, hello, Roqe Team. I'd like to reply to the discussion that you had on Monday regarding the word, what word would better describe Aghazadeh? I think nepotism would be the answer. Thank you for your program. I really enjoy your show. Yeah, nepotism would work too.
Although nepotism doesn't feel big enough somehow. It feels like, because nepotism can be any kind of showing favor to a progeny, showing favor to your son or daughter.
Yeah.
Aghazadeh sounds like...
It's very specific to Iran. I mean, you can't really come up with an exact word.
Right.
But anyway, as well, 2 weeks ago on It's All Persian to Us, the segment, I brought up the fact that the Persians invented the high heel.
That's right. Persian men invented
Yes,
the high
Persian
heels,
men. Yes, indeed. We have a Sarah Swanson wrote, fun fact. I learned about Persians inventing the high heel when I visited your very own Bata Shoe Museum in Toronto.
Oh.
Yeah. I've never been. Have you?
I have been. Why don't I remember the Persian high heels? I guess I should know that. But it's a big shoe museum.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Thank you, sir, for that, Sarah.
And then on Instagram, we have Shahin Bahrai wrote, you know what, guys? I sometimes really enjoy listening to your preliminary conversations you have amongst yourself. Super funny. Whatever you get from your friend is precious, he wrote in quotes. And that's referring to that, what did you say about the COVID?
Hacha dus rasad.
Mustafa.
Yeah, that was the thing I learned last week. Yeah.
Good job, Jian.
Whatever you get from your friend is precious, including COVID. Right?
Oh, crazy. And he says, you guys are doing great. Well, thank you, Shahin.
Thank you, Shaheen.
And then we have username Only Abkanand wrote, this hard work will show soon. The whole Roqe team is doing simply awesome.
Thank you. What do you mean show soon? Isn't it already showing?
I thought
Are we doing
so
a good show? If you guys, the show will actually be good soon.
One day you'll get there.
Just stick at it. Yeah. Thank you.
And then we have Arash Kiani wrote, please stop referring to the Persian community in Toronto as Tehranto. It's lame, and the Iranian community is much more diverse and colorful than just one city in Iran. People come to Toronto from all over Iran. Tehran is not the center of our community, nor is it a representation of our rich culture and history.
Wow.
I get what he's trying to say. I mean, there's more cities in Iran than Tehran.
Yeah, I understand what he's trying. I've never thought about that it would somehow be seen as we're kind of only referring to Tehran. But I think he's being a little literal. Who's this?
This was Arash Kiani.
Arashan. I think maybe you're being too literal. I mean, as somebody, first of all, I've lived in the city for like 40 years, so I could say, that I think it's okay for us to call it this. I think it's a short term. It's a it's a short form used to express something in the same way as Tehrangelis, to express that there's a lot of Iranians here. I don't think we have been using it a lot. I think partly we had After Hill on the show, and he's called his album Tehranto.
Yes.
So of course we're gonna, but I don't think it's lame necessarily, because I think it's a conjunction that is in a little tight little package explains that this city has very suddenly had this infusion of Iranians. And the truth of the matter is, between Shepherd, if you live in Toronto or anywhere near it, you know these places, Shepherd and Highway 7 along Yonge Street, it's pretty Persian at this point.
You're right.
But I guess he's saying, what if you're from somewhere else in Iran?
Yes.
Yeah.
And also for Tehranto, I'm not talking about Tehrangelis, but for Tehranto, I think the sound, the sonic is actually important. For example, if you say Shiraz-to, it doesn't have that feeling. I mean, because of te, re.
Of course, yeah. The charm of it is that you're taking Toronto and calling it Tehranto, and you're sort of. But I just think maybe he's being a little sensitive, a little too literal to where I don't think people are necessarily saying that and thinking, oh, that means that all the immigrants who came from Iran to Toronto must be from Tehran. I think, but it's also it's a good point in the sense that we don't, Toronto is not Canada. And for people who live in other parts of Canada, if you went to another country and said, oh, you're from basically Toronto, and they'd be like, I'm from Calgary, I'm from the East Coast, I'm from the North, So I get that Tehran, that somebody would be offended by just suggesting that all of Iran is Tehran, but it's a conjunction.
Yes.
I sense we've probably invited some more mail on this conversation.
Can't wait to read them.
Yeah, let's bring it on. Come on.
And on that note, it's time for the letter of the week. So this week's letter of the week goes out to a username on Instagram, Bahram YYZ.
Where is Bahram from?
I believe he might be from somewhere in Canada. I don't know specifically. Oh,
Keon, YYZ.
Oh my God! Can we re-edit that?
YYZ is?
Yeah, Toronto.
That's right.
Tehranto.
Clearly from Tehranto.
Yeah.
Arash Kiani is loading his pistol to come after us now.
Bahram June wrote to us saying, "Love your show, Jian and Gang. I used to watch you on TV 2 decades ago with those massive sideburns of yours." You had sideburns?
Oh, man. I had this whole sideburn phase.
Rough time, huh? Well, he says, "We met in 2014 during one of your on-road shows. You told me, Bachahay Iruni hame khoshgelan. It made me giggle. Keep up the excellent work, Jian and team."
Thank you, Bahram.
That's very sweet.
He's aging me a little bit. I don't think I was on TV 2 decades ago, but
I'm gonna Google.
I'll take it.
I have. I'm gonna Google you with
sideburns.
Sideburns now.
Man, I was rocking the sideburns. Yeah, I really liked them for a while there. All right. Well, thank you, Bahram. Thanks to all of our letter writers. Thank you again to our patrons. Thank you to Mostafa Heravi. This is Full Time for Roqe for today. Go to our website for all things Roqe. All of our episodes are there. All the editions of Hospitality, the editions of It's All Persian to Us, all of our guests, and ways to support us. roqemedia.com. Thanks to the amazing team who put this show together each week. Producer, Susan, Ponsa the artist, Thoughtful Negin, the fabulous Keon Savvy, Roham, Alay Mehrdad, Master Muhammad, Chef Haas, Captain Reza, and Groovy Shaya. Thank you to all of you out there supporting us and sharing our content. Please subscribe if you've not done so already. Rest in peace, Chick Corea. You can find me on Instagram at Jian Ghomeshi. And as ever, please, I implore you, Mizun Bashim.